Welcome back to Ink Drinkers Anonymous. Today we are descending into hell in Katabasis. I went into this book knowing I was either going to love it or hate it, and there would be absolutely no in between. This is the book that finally made me believe in 6-star reads. I am so choosy about who I give 5 stars to, and 5 stars just is not enough for this. This is the kind of book that rearranges your brain chemistry. Katabasis follows 2 rival scholars who are also former lovers as they descend into the underworld looking for meaning, or maybe forgiveness. What begins as a linguistic and philosophical exploration of myth becomes a confrontation with memory and guilt and all the things that we bury to keep ourselves human. On its surface, Katabasis is a story about hell and the literal underworld, but underneath it's about obsession, the academic kind, the personal kind, and the spiritual kind. The 2 aren't just traveling through a mythological landscape. They're dissecting it as they go along through it. They debate the nature of translation, of meaning, and what happens when language fails to contain experience. And that's the brilliance of Kuang's setup. Every circle of hell, every myth they encounter, doubles as a psychological excavation. One chapter echoes the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, the ultimate story about the cost of looking back, and one of my favorite myths ever. Except here, Kuang turns it kind of into a meditation on intellectual arrogance. What happens when the pursuit of knowledge becomes so blinding that you forget about the person next to you? Another thread channels Dante's Inferno. You can't have a book about hell without Dante's Inferno. It echoes not just in imagery, but in structure as well. Each descent feels like a new layer of self-revelation, where the punishments aren't physical torments, but emotional and moral reckonings. The hell that she builds is almost bureaucratic in its order, but it's chaotic in its meaning, sort of like academia itself. There are also whispers of Persephone's descent, and it's reframed through the lens of agency. What does it mean to choose the underworld and to find the power in the dark? Kuang blurs the line between punishment and purpose, making hell not just an actual destination, but like an intellectual addiction. A place where you keep digging because you cannot bear to stop. Beyond the Christian and Greek scaffolding, she fills in with threads of Eastern cosmology and theology. She gives us concepts of cyclical suffering and moral consequence that make the underworld feel less like a singular myth and more like a shared human metaphor for reckoning. Now, I know people love to criticize her for being too academic, but I think Katabasis proves why that is her strength. She writes like someone that assumes that her readers want to be challenged. She never slows down or simplifies. She expects that you're keeping up. And the result is intoxicating. It's not academic for the sake of gatekeeping. It's academic for the sake of awakening. Her prose has the density of theory, but the rhythm of poetry. She manages to take complex philosophical concepts, like whether understanding can exist without empathy, and she makes them feel visceral. She turns thought into sensation. And that's what sets her apart. She doesn't make you feel like a student in her lecture. She makes you feel like a peer at her table. Like you're just as obsessed as her and you're both looking for the meaning in the mess together. As someone who's been obsessed with the underworld narrative since I read Dante's Inferno in like 8th grade, this felt like a culmination of every reason that I love those stories. I've always believed that hell is less about punishment and more about perspective. It's about seeing yourself without distortion, and Katabasis gets it. It's about the descent that we all take when we start questioning too much, when intellect and emotion kind of collapse into one another. And sometimes you realize that enlightenment and destruction might be the same thing. By the end, I felt like I followed the characters down and couldn't quite climb back up. It's one of those rare books that kind of feels like an initiation, equal parts pain and clarity. But Katabasis, as the other stories, isn't just about a descent into hell. It's a dissection of knowledge and language and love and how they save us, how they damn us, sometimes both at the same time. If you love mythology and if you love fiction literature that challenges you, I feel like this one's for you. Like I said, 6 stars. Have you read it? Do you like it? And what is your favorite underworld hell story? I think now, I used to say Dante's Inferno, or maybe Orpheus and Eurydice. Both of those are like my super favorites, but I don't know. Katabasis might have beat them all out to be my favorite hell story of all time.